am author Melissa May Younger, and I wanted to share a little bit about my writing journey with you and just a little bit about myself. And so basically, I was like really young when I started writing, when I was in second grade, I think, and I wrote this story about this ghost, and the ghost was crying and making this scary noise. And then by the end of the story, which was only like 12 pages long, right? Then you find out that the ghost is actually just crying for its mother, and it's like a little baby ghost, and so it's not as scary anymore. And then I wrote like this vampire Elvis series because I really was into Elvis for some reason when I was like any other second grader, right? It became this vampire character because I was scared of vampires, but then he was like a nice vampire, but he was a little bit mischievous, and so he led these two little boys to go like cause some mischief and mayhem in the neighborhood. I was always writing, like I tried different things. I tried writing a diary, which was not, I was like, my life is not interesting enough to write about. So I really just turned to fiction, and fiction was what I loved to read as well. So like anywhere we went, I was just writing stories and coming up with characters, and I would just write like book descriptions, you know, like you'd find on the back of a book about like books that I imagined myself writing. When I was in high school, I decided I was gonna become an English major, get a BA in English so that I could become a better writer. And I knew I needed to work on my grammar and all of that stuff, even though it's not that fun. I got my BA in English, and then I continued writing when I was working different jobs, and I worked as an ESL teacher for a while. I worked with kids for a long time. I worked in the church. I worked in ministry and in children's ministry and youth ministry. And then a couple years ago, we moved to Chicago, and so here is where I've started really writing as my full-time job. So right now I am a freelance writer, so I write like lots of different things for lots of different people. Fiction and nonfiction, and different kinds of articles, and I do SEO. But yes, you get the picture that I really enjoy writing. I've built up a lot of experience in it, and so this channel is in part to just share that with others, things that I've learned along the way. And then I've recently started self-publishing my books. So this first book, The Land in the Woods, and you can see this is the painting I did for the book cover behind me. This one was something that I started like 10 years ago. And one year I just said, you know what, I'm gonna finish the book. And so I really got disciplined about it. And like every Saturday, I would just sit down and write for like an hour or so. And then I figured out the self-publishing process, and I did a lot of edits. I got feedback from people. And then this book made its debut in June of 2021. And then I recently self-published the sequel to that book. It's called The Forgotten Scroll. So these are children's fantasy series, and I'm planning on doing other kinds of books too. So I'm going to continue with my children's fantasy series, but I'm definitely going to, I have like this modern fan fiction type of like Jane Austen story about like these different sisters, because I grew up with 7 sisters, and so I have a lot of like real life experience to draw on there, and just kind of explore some of the drama and bring in some kind of Jane Austen type elements and characters, because I am a big Jane Austen fan. And then I also have like a bunch of nonfiction projects that I periodically pay attention to, but I'd like to take more time for those, especially this next year. I obviously paint, you know, I painted my book covers. I really enjoy that. And I play guitar. I like to read. I like to exercise. I love to spend time with family and friends and play games. Speaking of games, I thought I would just show you that we have a lot of games here at our house. There's lots of crazy games. My writing pet peeves, one of my writing pet peeves is that people use the wrong word or the wrong, like a homonym for something else. And I catch myself doing that on occasion, and it annoys me when I see that too. My favorite writing snacks and drinks are decaf coffee or herbal tea, and I like banana bread or pumpkin bread. I make my own. And then my favorite time to write is in the mornings because that's when I'm fresh and I feel the most relaxed and can get into that creative mindset the best. My favorite genres to write are fantasy, science fiction, and nonfiction. And my favorite books, I love the classics. I would say Frankenstein is up there, Pride and Prejudice is up there, Little Women is up there, and there are many others. It's hard to choose like one favorite, right? And my favorite authors, Jane Austen and Lynn Redbanks, an English author. She wrote like The Indian in the Cupboard, and she wrote all this like really cool creative fantasy stuff. And I just fell in love with that when I was in like 4th grade. And I've always been a big fan of hers. And then George Mcdonald, he's a Christian writer. He was a pastor, and he wrote like over 70 Victorian novels, and he wrote a bunch of fantasy literature and very interesting stuff with like spiritual elements and elements of grace in there, which I really enjoy and try to do in my own work. And then C.S. Lewis. And something else about me is that I am pregnant right now, and I am expecting a baby in early March. And I'm married as well. I should have said that first. And I would love to hear from you in the comments below if anything, resonates with you. On this channel, I'm going to be sharing about my writing projects, but I'm also going to be sharing about like grammar and writing tips and publishing tips. Basically like anything that I've learned along the way in my writing journey, in my publishing journey, I'll be sharing with you. So you stay tuned and please subscribe if any of that sounds interesting to you.